When you're world building, it's easy to put the work in and still end up with a setting so generic and bland that no one will remember it. How many fantasy settings have a walled city with dirty, crowded streets and a castle looming over it all? How many science fiction settings have a seedy spaceport full of tattooed thugs and crime happening right under the noses of the authorities? How many thrillers have a chase through the narrow back alleys of Paris, Rome, or Budapest? Boring, boring, boring. Whether you're writing a book or creating a setting for a role playing game, regardless of the genre, you need to do better than this. You need to give your audience something memorable, something that stands out, something that makes them want more. And today, I'm going to tell you how to do this. If you're new here, nice to meet you. My name is Mark, and among other things, I write science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Welcome to The Edge, where I explore writing, world building, and how to use AI to enhance your creativity. If that sounds like your thing, you're in the right place. The problem with boring, generic, cliché settings is that they don't stand out. No one remembers them. No one talks about them. Even if they are epic in scale, even if you've put a lot of work into them, if they look, sound, and smell like every other setting in your genre, readers won't care, and your work will blur together with everything else that they've seen. What if I told you it's easy to make your setting stand out, that you can create places your audience will remember, will talk about, and will want to see more of? Well, that is what I'm telling you. It's easier than you think, so come with me, and I'll show you how. This is Hanging Lake in Colorado. It's a beautiful lake set far above the Colorado River in the Glenwood Canyon. Getting here is a short but brutal hike that brings you up from the bottom of the canyon to this geological wonder. It's one of the most beautiful, spiritual, and memorable places in all of Colorado. Many locals, like me, make a point of visiting it every summer, and tourists from all over the world travel here to make the climb and soak in the splendor and peace of this amazing place. Your fictional setting needs places like this. Places that take hold in the reader's imagination and make them want to come back. This is especially true in science fiction and fantasy, where so many stories take place in generic settings, indistinguishable from thousands of others in the genre. But it's also true in contemporary fiction, be it a mystery, a romance, or something more literary. If you can present a unique and interesting setting, or show the reader something intriguing and unexpected about a well-known place, you'll draw them in. Let's look at a few examples. There's Hogwarts from Harry Potter, a school in a magic castle in a contemporary modern setting, a castle that is always changing and isn't particularly safe for the students. That's fascinating. So fascinating it made the series a bestseller for decades and led to an entire genre of young adult fiction. Do you think Harry Potter would have been as big a hit if Hogwarts had been a musty, dusty old boarding school in the suburbs of London? I don't think so. How about Dune? Even people who don't read science fiction are familiar with Arrakis, the desert, the terror of a sandworm swallowing up anything making sound. The setting fixes the story in the reader's mind, and the setting is as memorable, if not more memorable, than the characters in the story. Take Gotham City. Everybody knows Gotham. It's the archetype for a dystopian megacity. Putting Batman in New York, Chicago, or London just wouldn't have had the same flair or interest as putting him in a city practically made for his story arc. And the backdrop of Gotham makes the villains, the morality, the noir art style, all of it work together to tell a great story that sticks with the audience and brings us back for movie after movie, comic after comic. And this works in contemporary settings as well. Take Indiana Jones. This adds hidden tombs, traps, and Nazi spies to 1940s Egypt and brings a sense of wonder, mystery, and danger to familiar Egyptian artifacts and locations. There's the Da Vinci Code, which takes popular locations in Paris and other European cities and adds secret messages, hidden chambers, and an overarching conspiracy that makes these well-known places memorable and interesting by adding wonder and mystery to an otherwise mundane setting. I'm using wonder and mystery a lot here. Not the best use of my vocabulary, but keep those concepts in mind as they'll be important later. So how do you do this in your setting? Whether it's a unique world you've imagined just for your stories or a real world place where you're telling your tale, you can spice it up and make it unforgettable. Let's look at some tricks for doing that. And if you're enjoying this, like, subscribe, and leave me a note. That helps the channel grow and helps me bring you more videos like this. The first trick is to add elements of wonder to your setting. This is a trick I picked up from running role-playing games. A rule of thumb in running a role-playing game is to have at least one memorable set piece in every game session, a place unlike any other that your players have experienced and that will give them something memorable and exciting to focus on. This trick works in fiction as well. Every setting needs something unique and memorable, something that inspires the imagination, draws in the reader, and stays with them after they put the book down. That's the first trick. Make up something spectacular, grand, unusual, unique, and weave it into your world. It's best if this fits into your story, a place where you can set key scenes, a place where drama unfolds and which has a meaningful impact on the narrative. But even if it's only part of the backdrop, adding wondrous elements to the environment will cement the setting in the reader's imagination and can be used to frame the theme and tone of your story. Now, the first couple times you do this, it might feel goofy, but trust me, it will make the place memorable. And after you do this a few times, it will become an easy habit in your writing and your world building. Let's look at an example from my world, a planet called Mestrit. What's important for the setting is that this is a mining world, specifically a key source of fissile material and graphite. But a mining world? Boring. How can I make this more interesting, more memorable? I can go big. Strip mines are massive, destructive, and distinct. So let's start with a strip mine, but scale it up beyond imagining. I'll have one of the planet's moons be a rich source of graphite, but have a mine operating on such a scale that 20% of the moon's surface is one massive mining pit, visible from the world below. And I can go unique. What about that fissile material, uranium, plutonium? Real-world mining of this kind is boring. How can I make this interesting? How about by placing it on the surface of a geologically unstable world, a broken world under extreme tidal forces whose crustal plates are breaking up, leaving oceans of magma, an atmosphere choked by sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, and other noxious gases that make the surface so inhospitable that no one can live there, forcing the miners to live in orbital habitation modules and having to take shuttles down to treacherous work sites where they can earn massive bonuses gathering precious fuel for the growing might of the Second Concordance. It was a boring mining colony. Now it's unique, a memorable setting for my story to play out in. Another example you're probably familiar with is the Great Wall of Westeros in Game of Thrones. It's not just a castle wall or palisade. It's not any kind of typical medieval fortification that you'd see in any old fantasy. It's a 700-foot high, 300-foot thick wall of ice. It's a geological feature. It's epic, and it's a key focal point of the story. And you can do this in any setting. Add wonder by making it bigger, making it more dangerous, harder to get to, making it strange. But whatever you do, don't let it be a generic, forgettable place that's the same as what your audience sees in every single story. Make your setting unique and distinct from all the others. And there's one more trick that can quickly take an average, generic setting and make it pop. But what about you? How do you make your setting more interesting and set it apart from familiar places your audience has already seen? I'd love to hear your ideas, so tell us about them in the comments. Now remember those words I overused before? Wonder and mystery. Well, we just talked about how to add wonder by making it bigger. Another trick is to add mystery. This could be an unanswered question, a legend, a puzzle, a rumor, but it will work best if this mystery is central to your story rather than a backdrop item. A wondrous setting could be a backdrop to the story, something that just happens to be where the characters are, and it will still make the setting interesting. But a mystery should involve your characters. It should be something they care about, something that will affect them. Let's look back at Indiana Jones. If there were secret chambers and ancient artifacts and a Nazi conspiracy, but Indy was in Egypt on a vacation, perhaps engaged in some kind of romance story unrelated to the mystery wouldn't add anything to the story. It wouldn't matter. The characters wouldn't be involved in it, so the audience wouldn't care. When you add a mystery to your setting and your characters engage with that mystery, you create an intrinsic link between the characters and their environment. This engagement turns the setting into a dynamic element of the plot. The mystery propels the characters to explore, discover, and interact with their surroundings in meaningful ways. It transforms the setting from a mere backdrop into a vital component of your narrative, and it makes the setting itself more important and memorable to your audience. And a mystery should be dynamic. It should unfold and evolve as the story progresses. Introduce clues gradually. Allow the characters and the readers to piece together the puzzle over time. These clues should be woven seamlessly into the environment, hidden in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered through interaction and observation. This not only keeps the audience engaged, but also encourages a deeper connection with the setting. In essence, a setting imbued with mystery becomes a character in its own right, one that evolves, reveals secrets, and influences the course of the story. And it takes an ordinary place, a mundane environment, and makes it special, unique, something that's yours and that your readers will remember. By intertwining mystery with the environment, you create a richer, more immersive experience that captivates your audience and leaves a lasting impression. And best of all, it clearly differentiates your little medieval village, your sprawling urban expanse, or your alien colony from the thousand others your audience have seen. The bottom line is, don't use bland, generic settings. No matter how realistic or on theme they might seem, your audience won't remember them. They won't set your world apart. Instead, put in the extra effort to make your setting as unique and memorable as you can. Make it bigger, more dangerous, stranger, more mysterious. Make it more, and your audience will come back wanting more. Now go right, my friends, and make it good. I'm sure I'll use that.